So what did you think about season 2 of And Just Like That?
Lisa Todd Wexley.
Were there any standout moments for you?
Lisa Todd Wexley.
Do you have any notes or suggestions for season 3?
Lisa Todd Wexley? Hello, y'all. Oh my goodness. I just finished watching And Just Like That, season 2. The finale is out on HBO Max, and I need to talk about it. If you cannot tell from the attire, I may or may not have a favorite character. And this was not planned. In fact, what happened was, I was setting up to record this video, and then I had an idea.
This needs a wig. I need a wig. We need a wig. I did it.
Shut up! Oh my goodness. But you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna slay it. And now we're here. Do you like it? Do you like it? If you don't, that's okay. You're wrong, but it's okay. Let's get into it. I need to discuss this show. The last time I felt this strongly about discussing a show was, oh gosh, I don't know. I definitely texted my friend Sophia about it. Anyway, it's been a minute. I think the reason why I feel so passionate about this, why so many of us feel so passionate about this, is because we've been with these women for so long. It's been over 20 years. And Sex and the City was a genre-defining, life-defining show. The sex, the fashion, the female friendships, the fashion, the sex. It's just been so integral for so many of us when it comes to like stepping into our own femininity. And so for there to be a reboot, despite what we might want to say about shameless cash grabs, Hollywood clinging to IP for dear life, corporations being too greedy and lazy to pay for marketing, so now they're using nostalgia as marketing. Despite all that, these women mean a lot to a lot of us. And so, of course, many of us are tuning in to the reboot. So right out the gate, I'm just gonna admit that it needs work. The show still needs work, in my opinion. But season 2 was way better than season 1. And so I wanna talk about all the good before I talk about my notes. First of all, the fashion. These motherfuckers are in their bag, okay? HBO is in their bag. The costume designer or costume designers, because I would not be surprised if there's more than one, ate. The fashion is bomb. And the fashion was one of the highlights of the original series as well. If there's nothing else that they have successfully brought into the reboot, it's the fashion. And this season, they ate down. They ate down. What I really appreciate is that each of the women truly has their own distinct style. So you get a beautiful charcuterie board of looks. Lisa Todd Wexley loves to be bold. She's always in bright colors, big earrings, bright lip. She's got quirky glasses. And the face card. I don't know if faces count as fashion, but the face card. Then we've got Seema, who likes to keep things sexy, prints, textures, things that walk the line of being bold while also still being classy and timeless. Charlotte continues to be our preppy queen. She literally is the poster child for Ralph Lauren. So the fact that there was literally a Ralph Lauren storyline this season, and then Carrie is, well, she's a little bit of everything. I don't really know how we can define Carrie's style, and I think that's the point, right? I think Carrie likes to be able to rock many different looks and styles depending on her mood or her attitude. Bars. Carrie likes to keep it versatile, which I respect. That said, it has led to some major slays and some try again another days. Double bars. I'm cooking. I'm dropping a mixtape after this. The women were eating down this season. And how dare they? The audacity of season 2, episode 6. That's the bomb cyclone episode when it was snowing out and they gave us winter fashion. They gave us coat couture. I can't breathe. The coats. The coats! Lisa, Charlotte, and Carrie, the coats.
How could you not say cunt? Like, that's cunt.
The sleigh was, they all looked incredible. They all looked amazing. Another highlight for me this season was the sexuality. I feel like there was more sex in this season than there was in the first season. And I enjoyed that. We could do a whole other video about sex being overused in media. And honestly, being really boring. I feel like so many shows and movies throw in sex scenes and they really don't mean anything. They're not helpful in any way. They're just long, gratuitous, and filling time. But for the most part, I feel like the sex in this show serves a purpose, it moves the story along, and it's hot. I didn't just enjoy watching sex scenes though. I also just enjoyed witnessing older sexuality. I don't want to have anybody in my comments talking about me saying older or aging. If you have a problem with me using those words, look inward. They are older. They are aging. Those are not naughty words. We get older. We age. And that's a-okay. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's the entire point of this show. So moving on. One of the things that this show does really well is show us what sexuality looks like when you are at an older age and how it can still be fun, and also maybe what some of those challenges look like. If you haven't noticed, I'm a young person, which means I only know about young people's sexual problems. None of my friends are talking about ghost ejaculate. I don't know about that. But hey, I'm happy to see it, right? Give me a preview of what the future might look like. I think one of the reasons why people get so disappointed about aging is because nobody tells us really anything about it except that it sucks. But what I love about this show is that it shows us, yes, there are some downsides to aging. There are downsides to being young too, but you can still fully enjoy and embrace and explore your sexuality in your 40s, 50s, 60s plus. That's very exciting to me, and I love witnessing it in this show. Outside of the casual sex that's in the show, I also really appreciated the monogamous couples. I'm sorry if that makes me lame, I'm sorry. I really enjoy still seeing Charlotte and Harry have a healthy, lustful sexual relationship with one another. I love seeing Lisa and her husband get down. As someone who hopes to still be throwing it back in my 50s, I love the content. It's aspirational. Also because I feel like there was more sex in this season, I feel like we also got to see more aging bodies, and I love that too. I enjoyed seeing aging bodies. We don't see aging bodies that often. And once again, it's the same thing where it's like, if you don't see it, but all you're told about it is, oh, it sucks, oh, everything sags, oh, everything's blah, 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 blah. You're really thinking it's gonna be horrible. You're thinking it's gonna be ugly. And I saw the bodies in this season, and I was like, okay. Would. Keeping with the topic of hot bodies and sexuality, Che Diaz. Che Diaz is hot. Good casting. I know that they were technically in the last season, so that's not actually anything new for this season, but still, hey. Okay, but wait a second. This is Editing Bay Imani. Yes, I look crusty. No one was supposed to see me today. I want to talk about Che Diaz. I was too caught up in their devilish good looks to remember to talk shit. Che's jokes at the comedy club were not funny. Them trash talking their relationship with Miranda and basically reducing it down to questionable sex was fucked up. They had a real relationship. They traded I love yous. Do I agree that that relationship was a dumpster fire and doomed to fail from the beginning? Yes. They should have never been together. But the fact is they were together and what they had was real. And so regardless of Che being like, I'm a comic, I don't give a fuck. Those jokes weren't funny. They were hurtful. And for Che to try to tell Miranda to just get over it, to essentially be like, they're just jokes, proof that they're a fuckboy. And that is not me misgendering Che because Che calls himself a fuckboy. And they're right! Anyway, back to the video. Something else that I loved about this season were the women of color. I don't know if it's my own personal bias because I am, but I thought that their storylines were some of the most interesting. Part of that may be because these characters are new, so it's almost more fun to watch them than it is to watch the original three. We don't know these people yet. We're still learning about them. We're still seeing what their world looks like, versus we're familiar with the world of Miranda, Carrie, and Charlotte. Part of it may also be because Lisa Todd Wexley is that girl. But either way, I think the continued exploration of the show's characters of color adds so much. Even when the storylines are not inherently about race, the character's race still influences how that story goes, and I think that that's meaningful. Seema finally finding her love is an awesome story no matter what, but it's extra great when Seema's Indian, Ravi's Indian, and we even had it named in the first season that her parents would prefer if she found an Indian man. It just like adds a little bit more to the storytelling. Why? Why do you insist on being rude? I just want to know, can we fix this? Like, you're not showing off. You need to be showing off. Okay, so I just need to switch them around. Like, it's just like, do your job. You're here to make me look cute, feel cute. You're not doing your job. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, wrong hole. That's what she said. And when their race is more directly acknowledged and incorporated into the storyline in a way that is not cringe, it's deeply affecting. That moment when Lisa puts on the wig in the bathroom after walking through the blizzard, and the older black lady is looking at her lovingly, and they share that sister moment.
That's what the fuck I'm talking about.
It was beautiful. I adored it. I'm sure some internet pessimists will say that it was fan service catering to Black women. Well, guess what? I love being catered to. Can I have some more? Can I get a to-go box? That moment was meaningful. It was pure. And what I really appreciated about it is that they did not try and explain it to white audiences. Everybody could understand what was happening there at the surface, but for Black women, we know that exchange was meaningful. Living in a world where every other week people hopping on Twitter talking about, why are you leaving the house in a bonnet? To have Lisa shamelessly put on her wig in that bathroom regardless of who sees, and then to have an elder look on with love, adoration, and respect. Y'all did that. Other highlights that I just want to call out real quick. The scene where Steve and Miranda are fighting. Steve throws that huge temper tantrum saying, this is my house. I put everything into it. And then Miranda wants to leave and he's like, no, 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 let's just calm down. And then they're upstairs cuddling. It seems like things are okay. And then she finds out that Steve has been stooping somebody else. When I tell you that was the realest arc, ooh! The trajectory of that entire conversation, that exchange, that was so real. And you wouldn't get it unless you've been divorced. But that, oof, oh, ooh, the vitriol and anger, the sadness, the reconciliation, the back to anger, the betrayal, all in like 40 minutes. Like realistically, if that were like happening in real time, it was probably like 30 to 40 minutes. Real. Somebody in that writer's room has been divorced before. I see you. The scene where Seema tells Carrie that she needs some time because she does not want to witness Carrie's romance. If you know me, you know that I believe two things can be true at once, okay? I'm not about all of this black and white. I live in the grays. And the fact is, you can be happy for someone. You can legitimately want well for someone and also feel pain when witnessing their joy. At that point, Seema had never had any sort of great love in her life. And so to watch Carrie have two, I mean, that's, yeah. And it doesn't have to be jealousy. It doesn't have to be, oh, I want what you have. Oh, you shouldn't have it. It should be me. It can just be disappointment. Disappointment with life. Disappointment with whoever's pulling the strings, and why won't you just pull them in my favor? I think that's a very complex emotion that for some reason, maybe it's just because people on the internet only have 3 brain cells, but at least when it comes to online discourse, people don't seem to understand the nuance of anything, honestly. But certainly the nuance of the emotions here, where it's like, it's not jealousy, it's just general disappointment with life, disappointment with your station, disappointment that it seems to be everybody is doing well except me. That doesn't mean that you don't want well for that person. It just means you also want well for yourself. I love complex emotional things like that. I love sticky areas. I love things in the gray, and that was delicious. And lastly, we have to give an ovation. A standing ovation for the return of Samantha Jones, y'all. Samantha Jones! I was so happy to see her. Oh my God. I love her. I love her, okay? I love Samantha. She's everything to me. And I feel like Seema is kind of supposed to fill that void, what with her being, I think, the oldest in the group. Very sexy, very liberated, not a lot of experience in monogamy, but Samantha's irreplaceable. I did clock, though, that scene just took place in a car. Y'all know me. I'm an actor. I do this for a living. Look, I'm not a gossip monger, right? Like, run to TMZ with that. But it's pretty well-known, like, pop culture knowledge that there was some falling out between Kim Cattrall and the rest of the women from Sex and the City. It sounds like they're really not on the best terms with each other. So when I peeped that Samantha was in the car the whole scene, that let me know that this will probably be the only Sam Jones sighting we get for this series. She's not coming back. How did it let me know that? Because if she's in a car having a phone conversation with Carrie, that means that they were never actually on set with each other. They didn't actually have to interact. They didn't have to see each other, trade words, nothing. Which means that they're probably still not comfortable with being in the same room as each other, interacting, trading words. Which is unfortunate because, oof, it would have been lovely. It would have been lovely to have Sam back in season 3. But it is what it is. So, Let's talk about my notes. Yes, there are many things that I loved about this season, and again, I say this season was better than season 1. That said, the show still needs work. It still needs work. It still needs work. But I believe in this show, okay? I believe in this show. First, you know, some of the writing is still a little, you know? But, you know, part of that might be because the writers aren't getting paid enough. I absolutely believe they did the best they could with the time and money they had. The writing has improved since the first season, full stop. But some of it is just like, still. Because main character badass slaying. Overall, I feel like they've been a lot less woke pandery in this season. I feel like the first season they really wanted us to know, like, we're with it. And I feel like they've backed off on that a little bit, but I think they're still trying to find their footing. I can't even fully get mad at them at this point because we are in weird times. People are trying very hard to make sure that people know that they're not bigots. We're trying to be open and inclusive without being exploitative and pandery, trying to tell new stories we've never told before without accidentally crossing a line and telling a story we're not authorized to tell, trying to appeal to the original audience while also trying to bring in a new set of viewers. It's a lot. It's a lot. They're getting better at it. Still needs work, but they're getting better at it. Keeping with the writing, some of the things just don't make sense. Por ejemplo, why is Che recording cameos in the bed? Make that make sense. It's 2, 3 a.m. and you're gonna record the cameos in the bed while Miranda is right there trying to sleep? Like, go into the living room! What logical sense did that make? It didn't make any. Che being depressed does not mean that Che doesn't understand common decency. So it just happened because we needed conflict, and that's very annoying to me. Similarly, for a show that seems pretty grounded in realism, there are these blips sometimes where it just becomes incredibly sitcom-like. Like Lily just point blank announcing that she's going to have sex, and then Charlotte running all over the city to try and get condoms for her. It just felt like a little slapstick. I understand that the show is not pure realism. It's escapism. There's elements of heightened reality. But for a show that, for the most part, is incredibly grounded, those blips where it's just like really wacky or illogical feel tonally inconsistent. Another critique, the time jumps, man. Like, what is going on between episodes? It's not super clear how much time transpires between episodes. Sometimes they'll have a character say it. Like Seema said, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. It's only been 3.5 weeks. And so you're like, okay, well, they met in the last episode and that episode seemed to take place over the course of 3 days. So I guess it's been about 3 weeks and a day since the last episode. So sometimes that leads you to have to recalibrate at the top of each episode to try and figure out, like, when the fuck are we? It's also disappointing because there's some stuff that happens in between the episodes that I would really like to see. I would have loved to have seen Carrie at Aiden's farm. I would have loved to have seen Carrie meet the kids. These feel like things we would have been able to witness if we were back in the days of getting 22 episodes per season. But no, someone's greedy. So we only got 11. Something that really disappointed me about this season is that we did not really get to see Seema and Ravi's relationship at all. Maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like all we really saw was they met, they banged it out in that house, and then Seema said, I love you. Like, what? Seema has wanted to find love for so long. So for her to finally find it, show me. I want to see the building of that relationship. I want to see the courtship. I want to see the dating. I want to see what they love about each other. I want to see the chemistry. All I've seen is that Ravi is on his phone a lot and that they have great sex. Baby, you can find that anywhere. Show me what it is about Ravi that makes him the one. Show me what he loves about Seema. Now, this last one, y'all don't even, oh my God, I can't even. That Aiden breakup was horrendous. Horrendous. I cannot. So because Aiden's son had a bad day, Aiden doesn't want to see Carrie for 5 years. Hey, what the hell is going on here? Be serious. Be serious. No. No. And no, I'm not trying to make light of the situation by calling it a bad day, but that's what it was. This kid had a bad day. Kids do stupid shit all the time. So because his kid had a bad day and did some drugs and drove drunk, which is bad, right? It is bad. Is it cut off your woman for 5 years bad? No. One could argue that his kid did those things because he wanted to harm himself. One could also just argue that he was in a heightened emotional state, which was only further exacerbated by the drugs and alcohol. And that's what caused him to do a stupid thing. Either way, do I think that Aiden needs to rush home and never leave for 5 years? No, I don't. And I can't get behind that reasoning. I simply cannot. And don't hit me with the, it's because you don't have kids, because that's not what it is, baby. There are plenty of parents who don't agree with this decision. Check Twitter. I understand that Aiden believes himself to be home for the boys. He's all they've ever really known, the only true constant in their life. But the fact is, by giving up his relationship with Carrie, he's actually not being a great parent. Part of parenting is not just how you raise your kids, it's also what you model for your children. And he's showing his kids that adults don't get to have their own lives outside of their children. Adults don't get to find love. They don't get to have joy. It always must come second to the children. It would be one thing if he had the kids full time and he's been getting a nanny to watch them when he goes off to see Carrie. Then I could understand why he's like, I gotta stay at home. But he has a custody agreement with his ex-wife. So now what? You're just gonna be home on standby all the time? And his reasoning was, oh, well, this happened on her watch. Okay, and it's not like him being there is going to somehow keep his child from ever purchasing shrooms again. If his son is predisposed to reckless behavior, he's going to continue being reckless. The only thing that Aiden may have been able to prevent was his son getting in the truck, but he still would have been incredibly drunk, he still would have taken the shrooms, and who knows what else he might have done instead. Not only does it set an example for his kids that he doesn't believe in boundaries, that he doesn't believe in adults having full lives while having children, but it's also like, what about your ex-wife? Because he said that his ex-wife jets off all the time and that she has a boyfriend. Is she going to be putting a pause on those things as well? Because if not, it's seeming a little uneven here. And his ex-wife put on a whole performance for Carrie talking about, they're my boys, they're my boys. So where is she? And why was she not taking care of the boy the night when the crash happened? Obviously, we don't know what all happened because they didn't show us. But I think that Aiden and his ex-wife need to have a serious conversation about how they're going to handle their child moving forward. How about Aiden stays at home for 6 months and puts his son in therapy and they work together on emotional regulation skills. And then as a part of that skill building, his son has to learn what it's like to not always have his parents at his disposal because surprise, you're not always going to have your parents at your disposal. What if we teach our son how to deal with his big emotions in a way that is healthy and maybe even artistic, productive? And then the next time he's feeling big emotions, he doesn't have to go fuck up the car, himself, and my relationship. And you know, it's really something having Aiden give up his personhood for his child. Meanwhile, we have Charlotte, who literally says to her family, I was a person before you. I was a person before all of you, and you need to get used to that. Maybe you can say that Aiden bears extra guilt because he's divorced, and I know that divorced parents really feel guilty about that, but at the end of the day, man, no, I'm sorry, no. It was atrocious. That breakup is atrocious. It's atrocious of Aiden to do, and it's atrocious of Carrie to agree to, which, like, did she agree to it? Because it seems like she did, but then when she said regardless of what happens, that makes it sound like she's aware that they're probably going to inevitably sleep with other people. And then when she's on the beach in Greece with Seema and she says there'll be others, that also sounds like she's aware they're going to inevitably sleep with other people. So like, what's going on here? What is the terms of this 5 years? Are they still in a relationship during these 5 years? Or are they like on Rumspringa? That would be interesting. But also like a horrible idea. Like if you're gonna break up, then break up. What do you mean I'll see you in 5 years? Baby, no you won't. Because if the good Lord provides, I will have found a new man by then. And now you're gonna look dumb. Sitting at home on your farm with your chickens. Like, babe. I can't give it to you. And Carrie wasn't even mad. How is she not mad? I just bought an apartment. I just told my girlfriend I am having orgasms I have never had. No me. It could not be me. It's incredibly unfortunate that that is like the note we ended the season on because what the fuck? especially because it was so nice to see them together. Our final image of the season is Seema and Carrie on the beach in Greece discussing the men who have loved and left them. And Seema says, well, we ran into love. I think that's true for Carrie, but I don't think that's true for Seema. Because why did she let Ravi just walk out of her life? She said that she didn't want to go there for 5 months because she didn't want to give up her career, but you couldn't find a hybrid situation? Go for a month. Go for 2 weeks every other month. I just don't understand in both of these situations why it has to be so all or nothing. Carrie can't even visit Aiden. Why can't she go up and visit him during one of the weeks where he doesn't have the kids? Similarly, Seema can't go visit Ravi. She clearly doesn't have an issue just taking vacations from her career. She's in Greece right now. She was going to spend the entire summer in the Hamptons. The relationship math is not mathing, and that's incredibly disappointing to me for a show that is about sex, but also relationships. Ultimately, nothing compares to the original Sex and the City. Nothing does. This show does not recapture that feeling, the glamour, the sexiness, the romance. Not just the romance between the women and their partners, but even the romance within the women, the romance of New York. It was a romantic show. And just like that, doesn't quite capture that, but it's getting closer. Season 2 was stronger than season 1, and it's been renewed for a 3rd season. So as long as season 3 is written by humans, I think it'll only get better. While the show is still imperfect and it doesn't fully recapture that feeling of the original series, it is still lovely to spend time with these characters that we know and love. Ultimately, even though there are still some things this show could deliver on, it did pretty well this season. And when I watch it and I see these long-loved friends and I see the fashion, I still swoon and sigh and want to be a part of their world. Maybe not as much as I did with the original series, but I do still do it, and I think that's what matters most. Let me know what you thought about this season. It was a lot. What was the most scandalous part of the season to you? Because for me, it was Naya's husband getting that bitch pregnant. I can't even. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate your time, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye.